Welcome to the I Hate Critics movie review podcast. I'm professional film critic Sean Patrick. Jeff is here. Hi, Jeff.
I'm here. Oh, hi.
Hi.
Oh,
How are you, Jeff?
are we doing a podcast?
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So
I'm
tell
doing well.
people
How
where they
about
can
you?
get your art.
You can get my art at jefflassiter.com. That's my website. If you are in the Quad City, Iowa area, I will be at Quad City Pride Fest the beginning of June. I'll be at Iowa City Pride the third weekend in June or the fourth weekend in June. I don't know. And then I will be at Planet FunkCon here in Davenport, Iowa at the 28th and 29th, I believe, of June.
Mhm.
If you come out and tell me that you heard me on the podcast, I will give you something for free.
Wow. Look at that. That's
Come and
pretty
say,
cool.
hey, I listened to your ass on I Hate Critics. I'll be like, oh, well, here, have this. I have something specific picked out. So
Excellent. Well, let's talk about some news. I think you can comment on this one. You're being a horror guy. There is a new documentary that's coming out very soon called "The Dark Side of Society." Have you heard about this?
I have actually.
So, Society, the 1989 horror film directed by Brian Usna, who's also the director of Reanimator. It's basically somebody made a documentary about the guy who wrote it, who is a very unique person. Uh, he's you'll see him credited in different ways. He has a different name now than he had when he was a screenwriter. I guess he's still technically a screenwriter, although now I think he runs a cult.
Is it Andrew Keegan?
No. So the guy who wrote Society, he claims that Society was inspired by true events. Now he doesn't say he's not
Party?
arguing. He's not saying that they're aliens. Okay, he's not saying that. He's not saying that. But he's saying that basically that he grew up being abused by rich family members and traded around a group of multimillionaires, essentially these elite people who he claims have these kind of parties, these kind of bacchanals that he then accidentally that he kind of just pushed to the back of his mind, like a trauma response, just pushed all this to the back of his mind until he wrote Society, and then later on realized that that Society was him processing his own trauma from this sexual abuse that he says he suffered at the hands of members of his family and members of the rich elite.
Hmm.
Yeah. But of course, then that's fascinating and definitely could have truth to it. But he's also a COVID denier and he runs a cult, apparently. So I don't know what to think of this guy. I really don't. The documentary doesn't really question him. It just lets him just blather on and there's just zero attempts to fact check him. So I don't know what to think about this necessarily. It's interesting though. And it does add, I guess, a layer to Society, which is a very, very weird and creepy film.
Yeah. I just because a guy, is nuts doesn't mean that this stuff didn't happen. The two things
Sure.
can be true. And part of me is like, you can only hear that Richard Gerbil story so many times before you have to start to believe it, kind of when it comes to this stuff. But also, a lot of people, and this is by no means denying anybody who was actually sexually abused in Hollywood, but I have noticed that a lot of people who are who have failed at whatever they wanted to do, um, but seek fame, like they bring up these stories way, 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 way after the fact.
Mm.
So I think yes, I'm sure I'm 100,000% sure that there are people who were abused by people in Hollywood, like Corey Haim, and
Mhm.
was allegedly abused by Dominic Brasha from Friday the 13th Part 5, which we'll have
Mm.
on our Patreon soon. Um,
Hmm.
But I believe that the Diddy party freak offs, whatever. I
Hmm.
believe that kind of stuff happens. I just sometimes I think that some people overstate stuff like that.
Right.
Um, and again, both things can be true.
Yeah.
So I'm not discounting this guy at all because I haven't seen this documentary or anything, but I would be interested to see how he presents it and how he presents himself. Um, and if this is just, if this is true, if this is a way to, stir up stuff for his cult, I don't know. So,
it's all up in the air, I would say, in terms, because I don't know. I want to think that this guy is genuine. He claims to have Polaroid photographs of one of these parties, but obviously you can't just put that in a documentary. I mean, that would be just insane. But he claims to have it, and he did. I don't know what he plans to do with them, if he ever plans to do anything with them, but um, he does show us a handful of photographs we can't see. So there's something, maybe, I don't know. But
mhm.
again, he comes off as a bit cracked. He's his wife, who seemingly, I don't know if it is a cult necessarily. He has a podcast. Has a very loyal following. It's also kind of a religion. So I don't know what to make of it. He seems kind of crazy, and the documentary doesn't help him by being kind of amateurish about it.
Gotcha. Well, and I mean, I'm always one like if you got the evidence, show it. I want it out there. I want people to see it so that they can believe it and do
Hmm.
that stuff. But then on the other hand, we have people who show the evidence and people in the cult or whatever don't believe it because it's talking bad about their cult leader.
Hmm.
So, I guess it's up to everybody to see what it is and then go from there.
Yeah, I take a look. The documentary again. It is coming out very, very soon. It is called "The Dark Side of Society," so you can see it for yourself. Brian Usna seems to be taking the guy very seriously. At the very least, he's willing to co-sign some of the crazy on that. So, but then he also directed Reanimator. So, what are you going to do? What are you going to Uh, Speaking of Reanimator, of course, the 40th anniversary is approaching. We'll have something special for that coming up very soon. We do hope. And so stay tuned for that information. But continuing just a brief touch on some documentaries here. Utopia, the company Utopia, has acquired the rights to Megadoc. And this is a documentary about Megalopolis. This is behind the scenes talking with Francis Ford Coppola and being on set capturing the creation of Megalopolis. And since Megalopolis is not being put out for streaming or any type of home device anymore, they've killed that. This will be like the evidence that
Why?
Megalopolis ever exists.
Why are they not going to put it out on home video?
I don't know. But that is a call that Francis Ford Coppola has recently made, that they're not going to do a home release of it. I think maybe he's just saying this can only be seen on the big screen.
Okay. People might actually appreciate it again if they can see it again, or appreciate it for the first time. In my case, um, that's weird.
Yeah. I, I'm fascinated to see this documentary. The movie is so strange. I just would love to see further into the thought process of the creation of it. So, and it is Mike Figgis directed that, or at least his company is behind this, putting this together. So, and he's a relatively well known indie director. So
Hmm.
there's some credibility behind this. And that does make the documentary very interesting. On top of the fact that essentially, unless they do another theatrical rollout somehow, this is Megalopolis will essentially be lost media soon.
Hmm. That's strange.
And one last bit of news. Speaking of lost media, one of Sylvester Stallone's earliest films was seemingly lost for some time until the director was able to finish and restore it and is now putting it back out there. It's an anti-war film called Rebel that was made in 1971 and stars Sylvester Stallone. It's the second credit on his resume, I guess. He doesn't really like to talk about the first credit.
Wonder why.
I don't know. I can't imagine why he wouldn't want to talk about that. Yeah. There's a big story. We got the story up on our Facebook page if you want to check it out and see. It's going out in 4K, and they plan on putting this out in a theatrical release. As you know, it's probably a very limited one, but that's what the plan is.
Huh. I did see that you posted that on the Facebook page. But I was at work this morning and noticed it, so I didn't have a chance to look at it yet.
Yes, indeed. There's a whole bunch of stuff up on the Facebook page if you want to check it out. We've got news, we've got my reviews. Yeah, check it out, and do be checking out all the movie news that we'll be posting there on Facebook. Just search I Hate Critics on Facebook. And if you want to find the 95 podcast, look hard, I guess. Amy's not very good at updating the Facebook page for that, but she can hear me say that. just in case people thought I was ripping her when she's not here. Yeah, but we've done Crimson Tide, and Crimson Tide will be up soon.
Nice.
30 years ago. Can you believe that? 30 years for Crimson Tide.
You know, some of the stuff that is coming up on the 30th anniversary, I'm just like, what in the name of God?
Yeah, I do a Friday radio hit with a friend of mine, and every Friday, I do a movie review for her and promote the podcast. And every week, I like to tell her what the 1995 movie, just kind of hear that painful twinge she gets in her voice when I tell her what's about 30 years ago. Yeah, those Gen Xers don't like the 30-year movies anymore.
No. It's the 40-year-old movies that I'm.
Oh, those are gonna hurt too. Yeah. Well, let's talk about brand new movies. What do you think?
Oh, let's do that. Let's talk about 4-day-old movies.
Yeah, that's a much more recent. I know math. We'll start with let's go with Shadow Force. What do you say? We'll start with Shadow Force, directed by Joe Carnahan and starring Kerry Washington and Omar Sy. Shadow Force has to be the worst title a movie has received outside of the 1980s, because when you hear like a title like Shadow Force, you assume it's like a canon film from the 80s starring Michael Dudikoff. Like, that is just, you could not, it's as if they left the placeholder title in place instead of actually finding a real title for the movie. It's I feel a secondhand embarrassment for everybody who had to carry forth and try and sell a $40 million movie called Shadow Force. But and the worst part about this is, Jeff, I really liked this movie. I had a great time. Kerry Washington and Omar Sy are a couple. They were hired killers for a long time. They fell in love. They burned their fellow hired killers and went on the run. They had a baby. She then went out to try and keep them safe by killing her fellow killers while he took care of the kid. But then circumstances conspire to bring them back together and having to kill together to survive and keep their baby alive. The baby, of course, is this 5-year-old kid, however old he is, just the most adorable kid in a movie. I just loved this kid. He's just singing Lionel Richie songs and asking dumbass questions and just being just completely adorable. I loved this kid. He was the favorite part of the movie for me. I also love Omar Sy. Omar Sy has been kind of out there for a while, big star in France, and he's had a few roles here and there. And I found him just endlessly charming in this as just a good dad who also just happens to have the fighting skills of an 80s action movie star. And Kerry Washington I didn't really think this would be her kind of movie, but she does it well enough. And they've got a good enough chemistry that I really enjoyed this. The key for me for Shadow Force is that it's directed by Joe Carnahan. And this man just injects adrenaline into everything that he does. He just keeps the pace moving. He's stylish. He's got just a good instinct for the edit and for especially for staging action scenes. He did Smoking Aces. He did Narc. He's just got a good eye for that, and that really made me like this movie. But fuck, why did they call it fucking Shadow Force? Oh,
Yeah, I it could be any movie. It doesn't say anything about the plot. Um, I I wasn't having a great time until about halfway through. And it started to pick up a little bit when they all got back together,
hmm
and started fighting together. That's when it got me. Um, I had a few nitpicks. One is, why would you do that to Kerry Washington? She's like one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood, and you give her that flat Rosanna Dana. There's a really old reference for you. Hair. Um, and it's not that she does not look beautiful with natural hair. It's the fact that it was so flat. It just took me out of it every time. I'm like, Kerry Washington, why are you letting them do this to you? Um, I know that's such a stupid nitpick, but a friend of mine who I saw it with, she just she's a black woman and was like, "What is that hair?" The whole time she's whispering to me, "What? Why did they do that? What's going on?" Um, I was like, "I don't know, girl. I just do not understand it." Um, my favorite part, I think, like the favorite overarching part, was Divine Joy Randolph. I think she was so
hmm
funny and she was so into it, and I just, like when she's going off on Method Man, I was just, oh my
Oh,
God, it
it
was
was
so
great.
funny. I was laughing so hard. Um, I do think that Kerry Washington and Omar Sy have a really good chemistry, but I don't
hmm
think it comes through until like the last third of the movie.
Sure.
Um, like when I told you I said I was kind of bored until the last third, and it wasn't. I thought about it later, and I'm like, it's not boredom. It wasn't boredom. It was what am what am I watching? Because a lot of them are all in their own movie. Kerry Washington is in her own movie. Omar Sy is in his own movie. Divine Joy Randolph is in her own movie. And Mark Strong is in like the first half of this movie, he is in some other like cinematic universe. And once he dials it down a little bit in the last act, I was like,
hmm
okay, it's more believable, but he's such a mustache twirling villain for the first half of it, like I'm the head of the G7 all of a sudden. And it just was the tone I think that he gave off in the first part was just what kind of threw me. And I was
hmm
like, is this a like we're all coming against this guy? Is this he's gonna secretly be the good guy? I just didn't he kept switching tones so much that I wasn't quite sure what was going on. And also, if he is the head of the G7, um he's not living in that house or those houses. I'm sorry. You're a civil servant, although I guess that doesn't matter anymore. But um yeah, that was totally it was like he was kind of all over the place. And then after thinking about it a little more and talking to my friend, I think that might have been what really threw me.
hmm
But the last act, I was just like I was enjoying every second of it. Um just the speedboat chase I thought was
hmm
great. Um, the fact that they end up at a wedding reception was kind of fun. Although uh, I did telegraph Chekhov's head tapping.
No, this movie does, yeah, it does give away. I mean, it does heavy foreshadowing, like not subtle at all. It's
No,
not a subtle
no,
movie. But it's also like it is an '80s action movie. That's what they're doing
yeah,
here, is making an '80s action movie, and in that respect, they pulled it off. And just the idea of a really great director making one of those movies, like actually taking like. This probably was a plot that Michael Dudikoff starred in, or Carl Weathers, or somebody in the '80s starred in this movie, and just applying a good director to that as opposed to the hacks that they had at Canon. I love that idea because we're not wasting time, remaking good movies by good directors.
Yeah, yeah.
I had fun. I was surprised a couple of times, a couple of really great surprises, and one of which was this how they layered in the Lionel Richie stuff. Because it starts off as it starts off cute, it gets funny, and then they bring it back at the end. It's like that's honestly kind of meaningful and kind of moving. I was like, that's cool.
Yeah,
I really liked how that came around. And I do have one nitpick. It's related to that. And the Spotify product placement was a little
uh-huh.
heavy-handed, but this is a heavy-handed movie. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and no one saw this, Jeff. I saw this
I
by
know.
myself. I was alone. This movie made just over $2 million against a $40 million budget. Um, who thought to put that title on this movie? Just he just why don't just light the movie on fire? If you're gonna call it, if you're gonna call it this, just light the movie on fire. You're gonna make as much money.
I I mean, you could have called it Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and that would have been a better title. That's what I mean, it reminded me a lot of that. Um, but, yeah, I was trying to think of
Just call it
alternate titles.
Ombra and Sombra or something like their nickname,
Yeah.
like something like that. Something that's not Shadow Force.
Well, and my friend, like,
Just
when I
awful.
when I said, "Hey, do you wanna go see this movie with me?" Because we were talking about something, I said, "I gotta see it for the podcast, but I'm not really excited about it." And she goes, "Who's in it?" And I told her, she's, "Oh, oh, oh, I love Kerry Washington." And I'm like, "Yeah, so do I." I said, "The movie doesn't really seem like it's sparking much in me, though." And, um, she she said the same thing that you did. She goes, "Shadow Force? I don't understand why." I mean, I know that that's part of the plot, but she goes, "Why didn't they give it a blacker name?" And I was like, "Okay, that's a good point because they're it is a black cast for the most part. Why not? Yeah, why not do something like blaxploitation-ish to kinda get people to pay attention to it? Because I mentioned Shadow Force and everybody's eyes just glazed over and said, so
Yeah, and it's just it's the worst. It's the absolute worst title for such a good movie. Joe Carnahan just has been screwed over so many times when it comes to stuff like this. Like he had a potential franchise with Smoking Aces, and like
mhm,
it just they just continue to just I don't know. He's put out a lot of movies, and uh, not a lot of them get a lot of attention for whatever reason, and it's a shame because he's a really, really, really good director. One of the best action directors who gets absolutely no respect whatsoever.
mhm. Yeah. I mean, the action in the last third of the movie was perfect.
I loved that car chase. The car chase in that souped up car of hers was very cool. The compartment she built into the back for the kid was great. I yeah I There was so much fun in this movie. I had
Yeah.
such a great time. And I was fighting it too. I didn't really like early on. I was fighting, trying to like this, like trying not to like this, like just kind of in my head, like Shadow Force. I'm like, what am I going to say? I like Shadow Force, but it won me over. It won me over big
It
time.
needed a cheesy '80s, like, theme song kinda thing. "Shadow Force, da 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 da." Something like that.
I mean, yeah, I mean, the title itself takes the piss out of it. I mean, it just, it's like the title of the movie is mocking the movie.
Yes, that's a good point.
All right. Let's see. Another title. What was it called? Fight or Flight?
Yes.
Then
I
I somebody told me this is basically bullet train on a plane, which
I
yeah, I guess,
yeah,
but
Bullet
bullet
Plane.
train's way better. Way better movie because I think Brad Pitt's a little more interesting than Josh Hartnett. Nothing against him. I like him. But also that movie was just faster paced. It clicked better, better direction. This is okay. This is all right. I liked it enough. The idea here is that Josh Hartnett is a former Secret Service agent who got himself blacklisted or redballed or whatever they call it after he did something he wasn't supposed to do. He ends up in Bangkok, where he happens to be the last option for uh, a character played by what's her name,
Katie
Katie
Sackhoff.
Sackhoff. She calls on him after a bunch of bad stuff happens, and she needs him to secure an asset aboard a plane that's on its way to San Francisco. The asset is a hacker who's hacked whatever, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. Lots of people are dead in this movie. It was a big body count, lots of blood, which I like. I enjoyed that aspect of it. Uh, I just I felt like the movie stopped just a little bit too often. And with, having come out of Shadow Force, I was thinking like, well, Shadow Force is moving. Like that movie it's rarely slowing down. This one stops enough to do enough exposition that I'm like, all right, I'm going to go do something else. And then I'll come back. Oh, hey, it's back. I just wanted it to move a little quicker.
I thought it moved really quickly. I really enjoyed this one. Pretty much all the way through.
Mhm.
I thought Josh Hartnett was funny in it. Some of the looks on his face, I was just like, I didn't really realize he could do something like that.
Mhm.
Be kind of comedic. And just the way he's just like at first he comes off, oh, what the fuck am I? Why do I have to do this? What am I doing? And then every time he talks to Katie Sackhoff, he gets that little bit of hope in his eyes. Um, and I think he has a really good chemistry with Trita Chandran. So that helped a lot.
Mhm.
I did some of the bit, uh, some of the bit parts, like the Garrett, the head air mattress. I mean, steward. Um, I thought he was kind of like he was kind of funny. He was all business. Uh, I did call though, like right at the beginning. I'm like, okay, Hunter is a bad guy. He's not a he's
Oh yeah, that was
yeah. I mean that was just super right out there. I just had fun. It was like I thought the action was really well choreographed. I thought that the humor was well done.
You know what this
I
movie
never.
needed? You know what this movie really needed, though, to really put it over the top? Because I don't dislike this movie, and I would recommend it. I'm not as much of a fan as you are. Just as I'm probably more of a Shadow Force guy. You're more of a
Yeah,
a fight or flight guy.
I've
So
kept calling it
what
flight
this
risk too.
what this movie needed was the waiter from Drop.
Oh yeah,
If
yeah,
if he had been in that Garrett role, he would have crushed.
yeah. Well,
That's what I would love to see that.
it also needed Josh Hartnett in that pink shirt the whole time. That was so fucking funny when he walked out of the cab driver is sitting there with no shirt on, and he's wearing this pink tight little shirt, and I was like, oh. So I just had fun. I was
Mhm.
just I didn't think about it too much. I went into it like you did with Shadow Force, thinking I'm gonna hate this fucking movie, and Katie Sackhoff, I like her. So I was like, oh, I didn't know. Again, I'm trying as much as I can to go in blind on these movies.
Right.
Um, and I don't think I even saw a trailer for this. That's why kept calling it Flight Plan or, Flight Risk or Flight of the Concords, whatever.
Mhm.
So going in and actually seeing it blind, I think was perfect because I didn't expect anything from it. Um, there were a few surprises, not many, but a couple. I fully enjoyed myself, and this is not this is not what I seek out. So
Like I said, I don't hate this. It's not bad. And I did love the Toad Venom scene. I thought that was very funny. It was a very funny action sequence, and he was terrific. He was terrific in that moment. He was.
yeah,
What was I had a thing and I forgot it now. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is this not a bad movie at all. And I don't know. I'm okay with having like they tease a sequel, I guess, which I guess I'm into. Idea wise, I guess. I think I
yeah,
think if I hadn't gone in with the comparison to Bullet Train, I would have liked it more because when you tell me it's Bullet Train on a plane, I want Bullet Train on a plane, and Bullet Train is just filled with so many great moments. It's just so many great moments in that one. Just the action is so kinetic and so over the top, and they're having so much fun. And I didn't necessarily feel that here. It felt a little bit more strained here. They obviously don't have as much of a budget as that film did. Um, and and so that movie's got a lot of advantages. It's also a far more experienced director for that film as well. So it's unfortunate that somebody said that to me before I saw this.
See, I've never saw Bullet Train, so I had no expectations whatsoever.
Hmm. I like Bullet Train a lot. I think it's really good. All right, let's talk about clowns. What do you say?
Yes, let's.
Clown in a Cornfield is about Friendo the Clown, a town that has a clown history. It doesn't like outsiders who come in, and generally speaking, when outsiders come to this town, Friendo takes care of them. So when a new doctor and his daughter move to town, they become targets eventually. The daughter, especially, because she falls in with a group of kids who don't think the Friendo thing is real, and they start taking the Mickey out of it by making YouTube videos about it and pretending to be Friendo. And obviously, that's going to awaken the legend at a certain point, which it does. Friendo emerges from the cornfield, obviously, because it's a clown in a cornfield, and
What?
things.
That's why they came up with the name?
I think so. There's plenty of blood, some guts, and some clowns. It's okay. It's fine. I was not. I think the title "Clown in a Cornfield" promises way more than this movie is capable of delivering.
Well, as someone who has read the first two books, I was. There are 3 books, Sean.
Really?
Yes.
I thought you were making a joke.
No, that really this is based on a book called Clown in the Cornfield
Oh
by
wow!
Adam Cesar. And I did not remember the book because it's been a while since I read it, but
Mm-hmm.
as it was like, going along, I'm like, okay, I remember this now. I remember that. I had a lot of fun. I took my niece who is afraid of clowns. I texted her the day before. I said, "Hey, do you want to go see Clown in the Cornfield tomorrow? I got to go to this show because I'm going out of town." She was like, let me watch the trailer." So she watched the trailer. She goes, "Let me ask my mom." And my sister said, "You're going to have nightmares." And she's like, "No, I'll be fine." I She was fine. She actually really liked it. It's not challenging whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
But like a fun 80s slasher movie. It has that vibe. It has a likable cast, which is not something I often say in horror movies, modern horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not forced. It's not like the core 4 in the Scream sequels. It's just everybody seems kind of natural and like they would be friends. Um, Kevin Durant was so creepy in it, just without clown makeup on, that I didn't really think, you know. Um, he looks like there's an actor called Lachlan Monroe. Do you know who he is?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I, I, that's who I thought it was for the first 20 minutes that he was on screen. I'm like, what is wrong with Lachlan Monroe's face? Because he looks so weird. And then I was like, oh, his face is Kevin Durant now. So, um, I thought everybody was natural in it. I liked, the dad and daughter together. They seemed pretty natural. Um, I just had fun. It was a good takeoff on 80s slashers, like the book. Um, we the character motivations with the 2 male leads. I was just like, I remembered that part of it. It's like, are they going to do it? Are they going to pussy out in the movie? And they did it. So I looked at my niece. I said, "Did you?" She goes, "Oh yeah, I figured it out." So not a challenging movie whatsoever. It was just
No.
fun. It was like, it was a horror, fight or flight kind of, just fun. Nothing that I'm gonna I'm not going to rush right out and buy the Blu-ray unless unless Francis Ford Coppola has something to say about it. Um, but I'll eventually, it's something I'll own. I hope they do the sequel. I had a lot of fun. My niece had a lot of fun, and the guy next to my niece had a lot of fun watching her jump and hide and everything. So yeah, I fully recommend it.
I just I don't hate it. I just was not I was not all that into it. It is incredibly familiar. And I thought the cast was a bit bland. I want, especially the early kills that just had no meaning whatsoever. Like a couple of those guys, the guy dies by getting his head cut off while he's lifting weights, and it was like, who the fuck is that guy? Like, I had no fucking clue who that fucking guy was.
He was one of the main ones.
I understand that they did not characterize him in any way.
Mm.
Like, did not give him any sort of weight or even a scene to establish him having even a name, as far as I was concerned. And really, just none. I mean, none of the ones that ended up dying, especially the early, just I'm sorry you're dead, but I have no idea who you are. Didn't make any difference to me whatsoever. I like the lead actress; she was all right. But she was, it's kind of like we've got Jane Levy at home.
Wow.
I'm just saying, I wanted some people who have a little bit more presence to them. And I don't feel like they had much in terms of presence in this cast. Everybody acted their parts well enough. I don't know. There are areas where this could have been a little bit better. I also just didn't go for what they do with the clown. I wanted I don't know what I wanted, but I didn't want what they did with it. Yeah, I don't know, because I don't want to give it away. I don't want people to not see this movie because I don't think it's that bad. But yeah, the twist that you and I both know about what happens with the clown, who is the clown essentially, didn't do anything for me.
Oh. Do you know who I was getting vibes from um Katie Douglas in
Hmm.
some like looks wise was Florence Pugh.
Really?
Yeah, I sometimes when she was like she'd look at the camera or whatever, I was like, oh, she looks like a young Florence Pugh. Younger.
Mm-hmm.
Um
And that comparison doesn't do well for her.
I just said looks. I wasn't
Looks
talking
wise.
about
Looks wise.
acting ability.
You don't want me thinking about Florence Pugh when I'm looking at you, because I'm thinking about her. I'm thinking about a much better movie.
Yeah, I don't think Florence Pugh is going to do Clown in the Cornfield 2. Friendo lives.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. I think the title promises a lot more fun than this movie is. They've made a very traditional, what you would expect of a teen slasher movie, and the title and kind of the cult thing that they're going for in the marketing, which they did. They're road showing it, and kind of giving people the impression that this is something akin to like a Terrifier, where they're trying to create Friendo as this iconic horror villain. And he's not. He's most certainly not. Based off of the twist, he's certainly not. Um, so yeah, those things definitely poisoned the well for me as well.
Okay.
Anything else on Clown in a Cornfield?
No, I really enjoyed it. So
I don't hate it. I recommend it to if you like clowns and cornfields and horror. It's a horror movie. Certainly, I know, and again, it doesn't do it any favors that last year was one of the greatest years in the history of horror. And
yeah.
this movie wouldn't even get seen last year compared to what we had last year in horror. This movie, I wouldn't even noticed it was there. There were way too many good horror movies last year. Um, this one would not compete with those, but it's not bad. What is bad is Funhouse. This is our classic this week is a movie called Funhouse, directed by Toby Hooper, which did grab my attention, but I'm not sure what he was trying to do with this. Um, pay tribute to other horror movies, kind of. The story is that a girl goes on a first date with this guy. They end up going to this amusement park where there's a fun house, and they end up staying in the fun house, and there's a mutant guy in the fun house who comes and tries to kill him. Did you like this movie when you saw it the first
Um,
time? This is from
I don't.
1982, right?
Yeah, 1981 actually.
81. Yeah.
I it was one that I bought on Blu-ray that I never had seen before as a kid. So I watched it and I didn't remember anything about it. That's why I chose it because I'm like, oh well, let's do something I don't remember. Um,
There's a clown on the cover, so
yeah.
no clowns in the movie, but I mean, other than the main
Uh,
actors. But
yeah. My biggest the thing that bugs me even the most out of any of this movie is the first 5 minutes because they tried to make it look like Halloween
yeah,
down to the
that,
down to the
that was
mask going on and the click over to the killer's point of view. And why isn't the entire plot of this movie how this young kid just goes in while his older sister is taking a shower and he's just staring at her pussy while he's stabbing her with a plastic knife. Why is that
yeah.
why is that not the entire plot of this movie, where she's killing this kid and chasing him and because she says I'm going to get revenge on you and then nothing happens. So, yeah, I'm sorry.
Apparently, this is Toby Hooper's idea of childish hijinks. Which Toby, maybe should have been seeing a therapist at some point during his life because that's not how childish. That's just kind of like that's stuff that you need to talk to a therapist about, not childish
Yeah.
hijinks. Nah, that's not a healthy thing that young man did for a prank. Yeah, not okay. So yeah, they do it's Halloween, then it becomes Psycho for a moment, and then of course it's just a prank, and then we're off to the fun house. How many rides do we have to watch these motherfuckers go on before we actually get to the fucking fun house?
Yeah.
I was thinking of that terrible Disney set movie, Escape from Tomorrow. Where we're watching them ride the fucking California Adventure. What the fuck? Just do something, movie. Do something.
Well, and for me, if the monster, because it's not a slasher movie, which is what I thought it was, but the it's a monster movie, and if it's a monster movie, it's got a shitty monster. I mean, it's an interesting he's splitting in two, like he's a conjoined twin with almost two heads, but the makeup on it just doesn't move. There's no expression. It's the same, if it's howling in pain or smiling, it's exactly the same expression. There's nothing to it. It just really, I think Elizabeth Barrage was okay, but I mean, this was no Amadeus. So yeah, I mean,
there was just the villain was not even they barely even introduce him until the final act. They barely do anything until the final act. And I will say this, the final act, when it doesn't stop moving, there are moments when it's kind of working for me. Like it's kind of like there's some tension going on. I did like the scene where where the first date boyfriend gets got, essentially. We're not going to spoil this one, I guess, because it's 40 years old. He gets it, and then she's by herself, and she's got to figure out what to do. I was kind of in it at that moment for just a little bit, but everything it took to get there was just way too goddamn much. It was just and we've got the kid. The kid ends up being just the most useless character in the movie. He just shows up a couple times. He follows them to the fun house. He's not supposed to. He ends up getting caught by one of the carnies, and you think that's going to play into it, but it never does. He just goes home. Like,
Yeah.
for fuck's sake, really? Why was he even here then? Why did you bother to bring the kid to this whole story? He plays no role whatsoever. Just a complete waste. So much of the first hour and 10 minutes of this movie is just fucking around with a magician, with this woman who's got the woman who reads palms is there for no good reason. She just, oh my God, just the
Sylvia
meandering.
Miles.
Yeah. The meandering of it all. Just get to it. And then when they finally do get in the funhouse, it does get kind of good because Tobe Hooper is a good director. He directed arguably the greatest horror film of all time. The guy knows what he's doing. I just don't understand what it was he was trying to do with those first two acts.
I think, from what I understand, is there was extensive reshoots. And then they cut some stuff out of the script that would have made it more of a little more brutal. But he wanted it to be a little more friendly. Like the killer, the creature thing, allegedly in this, like, the script was, much more hands-on rape and murder. Whereas it's only kind of implied in this one. Yeah, it's disappointing because, like you said, he did one of the greatest horror movies ever, Poltergeist, and no, he directed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I was thinking of a different movie,
which is, in a way, is one of the most brutal movies you've ever seen, but they hardly show anything. You know what I mean? It's so, like,
it's fucking brilliant. It's just, it is fucking brilliant what they do with that movie.
And there are glimpses of good things in here. Sylvia Miles, who plays the fortune teller, she's Sylvia Miles in anything she ever does. Kevin Conway playing the three different Barkers. I think he's just was an unhinged actor in so many things that he's done. That I thought he was decent in it, but just the whole plot and it just kind of meanders and meanders and meanders, and all of a sudden the action, and it's like, oh, you've already checked out, but let's check back in for the last 10 minutes of the movie.
I thought if you're going to do that opening Halloween bit, just steal a little bit more and have the guy in the Frankenstein mask kind of follow them around all night and, poking his head around, and why is he here? And, who is he? What's he trying to do? You play with the whole Frankenstein thing where maybe the kid and Frankenstein form like a little bit of a bond. Like the kid is nice to him, unlike everybody else in the carnival. And maybe the kid then gets involved in the last act where he's like, hey, don't kill my sister. And after he's, gone around and been talked into killing her friends by his father, the kid stops him from killing his sister, and then maybe Frankenstein ends up dead for other reasons. I think there's potential to that as an idea that they just abandoned, so we can watch these fuckers go to fucking, like, ride a fucking Ferris wheel.
If I was remaking this movie, I would have made the dad the killer, where he, we think it's the monster, but it turns out he's the one who saves everybody at the end. Gives his life like Frankenstein did, like Frankenstein's monster did. Something like that, where it's a little more of, instead of the freakish monster is killing everybody. So,
you take an element of Frankenstein, you take an element of maybe like the big scary dude from Goonies, maybe with the heart of gold. Yeah, Sloth. He secretly has a heart of gold, even though he's got this terrible, mutated head. There's a potential there, like maybe like you said, like the dad is the actual killer. He hasn't, and maybe his son hasn't killed anybody, but he's just this very needy one guy who really wants to have friends and just not be treated terribly. And you could have something there where like he dies killing his dad to save her
Yeah.
and his and her brother. Like there's something there. There's like germs of good ideas here. Like I said, if you're gonna take that bit from Halloween, maybe use that a couple more times with that
Yeah.
Frankenstein mask. Use the Frankenstein mask to kind of marry him to the Frankenstein legend, and you've got some deeper, meaning and lots of horror lore that you're drawing upon to deepen the story that you're telling. And I wish we could see the movie that we're talking about, but we didn't. We saw Funhouse, and Funhouse sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except for if you can find the last 20 minutes in the movie, it's actually Toby Hooper directing it. Apparently, I don't know who was directing the first parts, but the final 20 minutes feels like a Toby Hooper movie.
That fucking kid. That's why he wasn't on screen, because he was busy directing the movie.
This one I was
sorry.
No. Like I said, the Toby
Hooper
Hooper had a lot of
trap.
Yeah, the Toby Hooper just offers so much, and he's such a great director for the most part, except for taking his eye off the ball for the first 70 minutes of this movie. Well,
so what do we got next week?
Final Destination is the big movie. That's going to be the biggest movie of the weekend. But have you heard what else is coming this weekend?
Do tell.
Hurry Up Tomorrow, which is the new movie from director Trey Edward Schultz, who did It Comes at Night, Krisha, and Waves. And Trey Edward Schultz is on the cusp of being on that tier with like Ari Aster, with like the guys we've talked about so many times, the really, really great directors. Waves is one of the best unknown masterpieces in film. If you've never seen Waves, you must see Waves. Waves is incredible. So is Krisha, for that matter. Trey Edward Schultz is a hell of a director. And I am so excited to see this movie. I don't know. I've been told by many people that The Weeknd, Abel Tesfaye is the name he's going by now. He's his real name. He's not using The Weeknd anymore. And I'm told he's not a very good actor based off of a TV show that he did on HBO that the entire world hated. Yeah. But I think there's a lot of promise here, especially when you've got a guy who's not a well-known actor or a guy who doesn't have a background in acting to be working with somebody who knows how to direct an actor. Like I know Trey Edward Schultz absolutely does. That has me very, very excited for this movie.
Well, and he is a huge horror movie fan. So I'm hoping that he acts like he's in a horror movie. I heard about this movie a while ago, but I didn't know when it was coming out exactly. And then I don't know, I was at work on my break scrolling through the internet, and somebody was bitching about the fact that Jenna Ortega is in another goddamn movie this weekend. And I was like, wait, Hurry Up Tomorrow's coming out this weekend? What?
Yeah, it definitely feels like like it came out of nowhere, like it just kind of just ran up so fast that it's not getting enough attention, but it's got my full attention because Trey Edward Schultz is a fucking genius.
Yeah. I think Waves is one of the first movies that we watched when I became a full-time host. I remember, seeing that for the show because it was like one of those movies I probably wouldn't have seen in the theater and really, really liking it. And yeah,
Bob and I watched that one together, and just we had the best time watching that movie. We had the absolute best time. I do hope Bob can see Hurry Up tomorrow because I imagine he's probably just as excited as I am. I thought because we've had Krisha Fairchild on the show to
Yeah,
talk about Krisha and talk about Trey Edward Schultz and just she was fantastic. I hope she's in this movie
yeah,
because
yeah.
she's
She was so good in
amazing.
that.
Um, yeah, so I'm gonna just be over the moon excited about that fucking movie and how good I hope it will be. I don't know how I feel about Final Destination. I've never been the biggest fan. I kind of
Oh,
liked
I
the
love
first
those
one.
movies.
Really?
The
Okay.
second one is the best
Really?
with the
Okay.
log truck. Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I think I uncovered something. I wrote an article about all of the deaths in the Final Destination movies, which you can find on our Facebook page, the I Hate Critics Facebook page. And I think the bloodline that they're talking about is from one of the characters in number two.
Oh, I
There's
wonder
a
if it's
name.
the.
There's a name that is common to the characters planned for this movie and one of the characters in that movie, not one of the main characters.
Is it the kid who dies at the end? I wonder.
I don't remember when he dies in that movie because I don't really
Oh,
remember it. But um, it's one character. It's a character who dies in the second movie. He has the same name as the last names of the people who are in the new movie. So I think there's a connection there. But obviously
oh,
there'll be many other connections. Tony Todd, of course, his final film appearance in Final
uh,
Destination. And it's just they did a lovely tribute to him. The cast did. They've done a number of them, but they did one fairly recently that was really sweet. Just paying tribute to him and his legacy, and that was really nice, and that makes me just kind of like this group of actors. So that's something to look forward to.
yeah. I like I said, I love all those movies, so I'm looking forward to it. Um, Also, I forgot to bring this up at the top of the show. We cannot let the moment pass, but Morris the alligator from the movie Alligator died. You're
Hang
not
on,
gonna.
hang on. I'm pouring one out. I'm pouring one out for Morris.
He died of old age.
That's wow. Okay.
That movie scarred me as a kid because I thought that alligators were gonna come up and bite my asshole in the toilet.
Not an
So
unreasonable fear after that movie. That movie and Ghoulies put me off of like I don't think I could sit down to pee, Mom. I'm sorry. I can't
I'm
sit
gonna poop
down.
in a bucket over here.
Yeah. It was Ghoulies for me, but
Yeah. So, R.I.P. Morris. Are we gonna do? Are you gonna watch the Final Destination movies for our classic?
I mean, I I'm going out of town this weekend, so I'm
Okay,
not sure. I'm not
so no
sure if I'll be able
classic.
to
Is that
get
what you're
to
saying?
all of them.
Well, you have
I
to
can
watch
get
two.
to
Let's make number two our classic because that is my favorite one, and you will definitely want to watch it after you drive wherever you have to drive.
Ironically enough, on the weekend that there's a Final Destination movie in theaters, I have to fly.
Oh, ooh, yeah.
Uh,
So it's funny whenever my family flies somewhere, I'm always like, yeah, you guys want to watch Final Destination? You guys want to watch Alive?
God,
Anybody up for Sweet Dreams?
I wonder how many of my childhood fears I got from you. It's a good
No.
question. Between you and my brother, I picked up a lot of things a little too early, a little earlier than I should have.
Yeah.
I told the story before about how old was I? I was not 8, 9 maybe when my brother Kevin showed me Friday the 13th for the first time. And an 8-year-old, 9-year-old should not have been watching that movie. I mean, it's goofy now, but when you're 8 or 9 years old, it looks real.
Well, I saw it in the theater when I was 8 years old because my babysitters they asked my mom if they could take me to a movie, and she said, "Sure. What are you guys going to see?" And they said, I don't know, Hot Lead and Cold Feet or some Don Knotts Disney movie, whatever, something like that. Instead, it was Friday the 13th. Um, and that has sparked my love of all horror, and especially Friday the 13th. Although I was supposed to go to camp that summer. Guess who didn't go to camp that summer?
I can't imagine why.
Yeah. So, um, and also June has a Friday the 13th in it. So we will have part five commentary coming up.
Indeed.
Um, yeah,
Uh,
Friday, June 13th is Jason's birthday.
I want to throw out one more thing just before we wrap up here,
Sure.
because I didn't want to necessarily. I wasn't sure when to bring it up, but there's a movie out there that I really would like people to see. It's called Bob Trevino Likes It. It stars John Leguizamo. It is just recently, I think it just started to be available on streaming rental. It is among the best movies I've seen in the last 12 months. It is one of the sweetest, most charming movies I've seen. And I would prefer to do like a show where we actually both see it and talk about it, but I want to throw this out there for everybody because I desperately want people to go see this movie and check out my review, which is again on our Facebook page. Right now, you can find that review. You can find my review of Shadow Force, where spend a lot of time crapping on the title. Um, and a lot of news. I'm posting a lot of news on the Facebook page, most of which I am writing myself. So every time you click on that stuff, you're helping me. I've also started a little horror column on medium.com where I'm just writing some stuff. I just posted the top 10 cult horror films that every fan should know. And just editors kind of suggest some titles and you just kind of go with it. And so I did what I do. I came up with something weird, which is why I wrote about freaks on the cover. I have that, but we have to do freaks as a classic because I have the Todd Browning collection from Criterion, and yeah, I've not had a chance to really dig into that.
Yeah, I do. I have that movie on DVD. So
Future classic
also,
freaks.
yeah, definitely. I've also picked up a couple of movies that I've never seen before at an estate sale. And check this out, you're gonna love this. You know how much I hate the book Jaws, right? Have we talked about
Mm-hmm.
that before? I fucking hate that book. It is the worst. It's like the movie is so much better than that book. But I found for 70 cents a first edition hardcover of Jaws at an estate sale this weekend. I'm
Oh
showing you, Sean,
wow,
because you're on video. It
yeah,
is in rough shape, but
that's still very cool. That's still a very cool find.
so it's going on eBay because I don't
Now, if
like
you
it.
can find a first edition of Orca, you really have something.
Right? There's so many like movie tie-in books that I want that are so expensive that I had in the
Mm-hmm.
past. So
Yeah,
yeah.
somewhere I have a copy of the novelization of the Phantom Menace, which I'm really proud of.
I have all of those. Um, I'm really looking. I play the long game on books because I'm not gonna. There's only one book that as soon as I get the money, I'm gonna go ahead and buy it on eBay, and that's the Black Echo by Michael Connolly, first edition. Um, but and if anybody out there has that and they want to sell it to me cheap, I would love you forever. Um, I like Halloween, the novelization for Halloween. I want to read that. The Black Christmas novelization goes for like $500
Wow.
in paperback. The Friday I had the Friday the 13th novelizations. I don't know whatever happened to them. I want to get my hands on the April Fool's Day novelization because that has the lost ending. Just so many of these books that I had when I was a kid that, foresight
That's a,
is everything.
that's a cool niche hobby to have. Like that is so niche that like like you can really stand out with that particular niche, just novelizations of movies.
I have a few. Like I just picked up Single White Female. Um, the there's a few movies that were based on books that the books are decent. Like The Fan. Remember that movie with Lauren Bacall and Michael Biehn?
Oh yeah. Oh phew, yeah. Hmm.
Uh, stuff like that. But the novelizations kind of hold a special place in my heart because I had so many when I was a kid, and my mom and my aunt loved movies and books, so that they would, if I said, "Hey, I want to get this," I think your mom got me the April Fool's Day book for my birthday one year.
Yeah, that's nice of her.
So yeah, I've gotta hopefully find those. I don't want to pay eBay prices. I just really don't. I can't.
Hmm.
So I want to just, someday I'm going to get lucky. I'm going to find these books that I've been looking for. So,
Well, all right. Good luck with that. I do. If I see them, I'll let you know.
all right.
You never know. They might. I go to library book sales sometimes. You never know when
Hmm.
stuff like that might pop up.
Yeah. Yeah. It is
All
garage
right.
sale season. So,
Yeah. And I'll give you my novelization of the first X-Men movie. That'll be your birthday present,
ooh,
your late birthday present.
fancy.
Yeah, yeah, just to pad the collection.
Yes. Yes.
All right, Jeff.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Bye bye.